Hello, how we all doing today? I'm excited to be here with you all. We've got so much fun coming down the line here today. Alex Nord Games, hello friend, how are you? How's your day been? And there's Kyrian Games. Hello, hello, hello. Before anyone says anything, yes, I know I'm not on camera here yet. I'm sending out I'm lighting the beacons over on Discord and Slack and everything. I'll be there in 2 seconds. Cool. Oh, how are y'all doing today? Oh, hello. Hello. Man, I'm excited to be here today. I am very excited. We had some cool stuff happen. In case you have not been checking out the Discord. Karen Games doing great. How are things going for you? They're going lovely. Yeah, thanks. And I've got 2 Twitch chats going on. Son of a biscuit. I worked so hard to try and make this work here. All right, we'll turn that one off. We're doing really great. Thank you. Thank you for asking. How is your Game Jam submission? Have people been playing it? What sort of feedback have they been leaving? I want to hear all about it. I want to share about some of the feedback that we've been getting on our game, which has been really fun and exciting to see. What we're going to be doing moving forward, kind of plans for post Game Jam, how we're going to run this all. And we've also got some exciting announcements that, once again, we've been talking about on Discord. So if you want to stay up to date on things like that, make sure you're in the Discord, because that's where we're going to be chatting about most of these things. But, hold on. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hold on. I need to hold on. How do I get this message back up? There we go. That's what I'm looking to see. Okay, we had a special surprise come in over the weekend that I did not expect. Benwill, I have a feedback on your game, Foxhollow. How do I use cards that cost wood? They seem to only give me an X cursor when I try to place them anywhere, so I'm obviously missing something. So, this is, this is the biggest piece of feedback we get on the game, that it really needs a lot of usability work, which I would feel perfectly comfortable doing. It's going to be just a matter of, does the team actually want to continue the project? Do we want to do that? So the good news is when people figure things out, they actually really have a good time. They have a really, really good time is what we've been hearing. So using cards that cost wood, it's not about cards that cost wood necessarily. Every structure you build has to be placed on creep. So that yellow tile on the ground, that's where you need to put your stuff. So you can't build a building without that. And that's very confusing for a lot of people. As well, in order to get more cards, you have to go to the evolution store, and that's when you spend your resources, your all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, does that help? Does that make any sort of sense? Kyrian Games haven't gotten any additional feedback yet, but have plans to get together with the other VN devs that completed and all play each other's games while in voice chat. That's awesome. That's awesome. VN devs that competed? What's VN? I've tried creeping under the force and then placing Chomp on top, but it wouldn't let me, so I figured there's something else I was saying. Yeah. You need to put Gnaw on a tile that has creep and is adjacent to the resource. So everything has to be in adjacencies. Kyrian Games visual novel devs. Oh, that's so cool. That's super rad. That is rad AF. After we played your game, my wife and I took the dogs and the kids on a walk. And my wife was saying, I don't understand visual novels. Like, why would anyone play those? And I said, well, a lot of people say the same thing about like comic books and stuff when it comes to literature. And there's something special about it. And she said, yeah, but you're not like doing anything. I'm like, well, hold on. I think probably you don't have a great idea of what the visual novel space is, because I haven't really played any. But it's all about kind of choices and seeing different routes and exploring narratives in an interactive manner. And then she started to get really excited. And we decided for a date night in the future, possibly for Valentine's Day, we're going to play Hatoful Boyfriend together, which I own, but I have never played. Okay, what am I looking for? Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Snip. Cool. Huh. Those 10. There we go. Okay. That's exciting. They're very niche. You have to be a reader first and foremost. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, Binwell, let me know if that answered your question or not. If it's still unclear, I can boot it up here and I can show you. I can give you a personalized tutorial. That really needs to happen. Like I said, the people that started to play really struggled. But the people that pushed through and like experienced it and figured out the rules, they had a really great time. We actually had some absurd feedback today that I was just I don't know why anyone would say this about our humble little thing. This has got to be the most innovative game I've played so far from the Game Jam submissions. You all created a new genre, and that's not an easy feat. The soundtrack is fitting, the graphics really blend well together. Congrats, everyone. I hope to see more from you in the future. That was from Rodmaker. Oh, the maker of Mage Knight. Okay, perfect. Which we played on stream on the day of. So people have been very, very, very positive, except for the usability. So we just got to work on that, and it'll be good. Ameripon, how goes it, my man? Doing great. Thanks. So glad to have you in here, friend. Okay, so what I was saying, we had a special announcement come in over the weekend that I was not expecting. Like I said, we've been talking about this on the Discord. Love to gather people's thoughts here live as well. I got a little notification in Twitch. We're affiliates, yo. Or at least we may choose to be so, should we so desire. It's really exciting. Really, really exciting. I don't know exactly if we're going to take advantage of this right now, but this is really tremendously exciting. And it quite literally could not happen without all of you here today. And all of you who have followed and subscribed on YouTube and that are hanging out in the Discord and hanging out in the chat. All of this is due to you guys. Thank you. We've been seeing the mission that we're trying to accomplish really actually starting to take effect. I've had people reaching out to me asking, how do I get into game dev? How do I do this? People have been going into our Discord and asking questions on how to get programming help and discussing game ideas and sharing in the excitement of game jams and everything. Like, we're starting to see this all materialize. And I just can't thank all of you enough. I really, truly can't, because you are making my dream come true of being able to help other people. Thank you. Let me look at chat real quick. Binwill, some quick if you're stuck tips on the itch.io page might help, because it feels like a bug when every permutation you can think of fails to place the card. I agree. I actually need to check to see if we can update the description on the itch.io page, or if that's locked down as well, because I don't want to do anything that would, possibly disqualify us from the jam or anything. Wife Quest, hello! Welcome on in. Binwill, way to go. Yeah, well, thank you. And Corey, good afternoon to you, friend. Great to see you. And I loved playing Kudzu, by the way. That was so rad. I loved seeing that kind of come to, if you'll excuse the pseudo pun, fruition. And yeah, we're just talking about how we've been invited to become affiliates, which is small scale, for sure, but also is progress. And it's a sign that things are working and that you're all staying engaged and that this is a mission that people are believing in, which is just indescribable for me. We started this with a very, very silly amount of just a surety that things would work out, with zero following of any sort. And now people who are jumping into the stream and they're newcomers are talking about how amazingly positive and welcoming the whole community is, and things that I never thought would ever happen, And it just tickles me absolutely pink that the reason it's happening is not because of me, it's not because of the channel, it's because you are all wanting to grow and build and help other people do the same thing. And that just, it's the happiest thing I could really consider for my professional career. So thank you. This is just the beginning. Just the beginning. Kyrian Games, congrats on affiliate. Thank you. We haven't quite taken it up on it yet. As you may have noticed, there were no ads, there's no subscribe button, there's no channel points. But we are talking to different streamers who are affiliates and above, and trying to figure out, when is the right time to make the transition for our channel and for our community. What is going to be the most exciting? I do have a lot of exciting ideas for channel points, especially I think are going to be tremendously important and helpful. Some ideas I've been throwing around, or possibly, for X amount of channel points, you can submit your game to be critiqued here live on the channel, whether it's in programming, design, art, or just in general, audio design as well, or submitting a game to analyze together as a community, and we'll just add these all to queues and we'll chew through them over the course of those special events. So lots of things that we're thinking about. If you have any thoughts or ideas that you would like to see, please let me know. I would love to hear from absolutely everyone. And I'm just so deeply and tremendously excited to keep pushing forward, keep on growing, keep on doing more and more and more to help and support people to gain the skill set that they need to build games, to try something that they thought was impossible, that they've never even considered, because it seems like an outrageous concept. So, thank you to all of you. I've spent 25 minutes saying thank you, but I mean it really dearly. Binwill says, creating an environment where it feels safe to have discussions like that is incredibly challenging. Don't underestimate that. It is challenging. It's tough. And I do my best to try and design the environment and a space where those things are possible, but you all have made it very easy as well. We have yet to have any sort of bad apple come in to, act in poor faith. Everyone's been amazing. And the coolest thing is that positivity, that welcoming spirit is shining through to complete strangers to the stream that come in and they feel something different here. And that's all because of you guys. Carrying games. In my experience, channel points are the biggest reason to make the jump. Back when I streamed, the level of engagement pre-channel points and post-channel points was night and day. Yeah, I agree. That's the most exciting thing for me. I mean, emotes are great, and we may be able to swindle WifeQuest into possibly making some emotes for us once she finishes her project, of course, that she's wrapping up right now. But I think she would make some really special stuff that would be really different than the sort of stuff you normally see on Twitch. I mean, you see what she's done back here. Nobody has anything like this on Twitch. And I think that's amazing. So, yeah, if you guys think of any ideas or any concepts you'd like to see on the channel, any way that we can help support people to accomplish things, I am all ears. We want to push and keep on helping people grow. So, along that same note, we have someone who has done that we're going to be jumping on a call with in just like 2 minutes. And that person is, you may recognize them here on the channel as Amanusis. In Discord, they're Scribe. And they started up a really, really cool initiative during the Pirate Software Game Jam where they wanted to interview Game Jam teams about what their experience was in the Game Jam and to talk with them about it. I think it was a super good idea. He asked if I wanted to be involved, and I said, absolutely, I want to be involved. That is 100% aligning with the mission of encouraging people to just stand up and build something, even with no prior experience. And I'm really, really excited to jump on this call with him in a few minutes. He's had about 12 different teams sign up that they want to be interviewed. So what we're going to be talking about today is, how does he want to run this? How can I support? How can we as a community support this initiative? I just want to do whatever I can because I think it's a rad concept. And I love it. I love the idea of giving attention to these little indie dev teams that pop up for a week or two and then cease to exist anymore, because all of us learn so much during these experiences. And I think it's going to be a really, really great opportunity for all of us to talk with each other about how we experience the Game Jam and to share things. So here he is. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the music here because Scribe has joined the voice chat. Hello, Scribe. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm calling you by your Discord name. Should I call you your Discord name or your Twitch name?
It doesn't matter to me. I went by Scribe as like an online name, and then it was taken on some platforms, so I looked up like the Latin root of it, and Amanusis was that, so that's why I have that name.
Amanusis is the Latin root of Scribe?
It's not the root of the word. It's a like alternative way to do it. So Amanusis, a literary artistic assistant, in particular one who takes dictation or copies of manuscripts. It's like what they would call scribes, similarly in Latin.
That is super duper cool. Can we get Scribe's volume turned up a bit? Is that a thing? Yes, let me turn that volume up. Thank you, WifeQuest. Okay.
How do I do that for you? Because they're also asking that in my chat.
So I have you just feeding through my desktop audio. I'm not super fancy streamer man yet with like a stream deck or anything, so I'm just pumping my volume up on my desktop.
And I'm copying you because I have even less experience.
Okay. Once again, this whole thing is all about growth, right? We're just figuring it all out together and helping each other out. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm very recent to streaming, so I'm very glad that I was able to start and that people joined, and I've actually been really liking the interactions, and surprised by how many people are actually just willing to like chat and collaborate on stuff.
In fact, you're so new to streaming that you started streaming, what, the week of the game jam?
Yes, that's correct. I started on the Saturday after the announcement was made. And even that very first stream, I had people popping in and talking.
That is super rad. That's super rad. I mean, I want to talk to you all about that someday, but we're here to talk about something else.
Yeah, so let's get down into this idea. Let me just kind of like lay out what I have in mind, and then we'll come to you and see what you have to say.
Please.
Yeah, so I think it would be cool to go and interview people, do a post-mortem analysis of their game. I am more interested in not so much what they've made, but the process that they went through, because I think that is the part that is most hard to see during these game jams. I think it's really cool that we get to go through all of these projects and see the final product, and they go through the top 10 and we see all these impressive results. But as somebody who's personally had a lot of trouble getting into a game jam, finding a good team, getting a good process going, I think it'd be really interesting to grab a handful of them, go through things like, what would you advise other people? How did you form your team? How did you decide on the topic? Sort of things that help people accomplish the goal rather than just kind of showing off the cream of the crop.
That sounds awesome to me. I love that. That was one thing that when we were streaming the game jam submissions, I was deeply upset because the default sorting, at least on my screen, was by most popular. And I thought, this is the dumbest sorting method for a game jam I've ever seen. And thankfully, when the submissions were done, it swapped over to random, which is exactly what it should be. But I love that concept about let's just pour some attention on people who are building things and learning that aren't necessarily like already accomplished developers, right? Because frankly, they're 30 levels beyond where we are, and the stuff that they're learning is not really going to be applicable to us very much. So let's go to the people that are like 1 or 2 steps ahead and see what they're learning. I love the concept so much. So you've been sending out this Google form asking people to sign up, and it's got about 12 teams that have signed up for it already, right?
Yeah, 14 now. So there's at least that many people who I can reach out to. I do believe one person has already reached out to me and said that they can't do it. Some stuff came up. But a good amount of these people that have signed up, they've said that they are available pretty much any time this coming week. There's a couple restrictions, but most people seem kind of free for whenever.
Okay, perfect. So with that situation, then I'm here to support. What can I do, and what can our community do to help this event? Where are you seeing that you need some support? You and I have chatted a little bit about some ideas, but I want to hear from you here. Like, where can we make an impact for you?
Right, yeah. So I, being new to streaming and all that, I was hoping to have a secondary host so that the structure would end up being there's 2 people interviewing, 1 to 4 or 5, however many the team has, and we could have 2 people. So one would be able to keep the conversation going, keep the interview going, and the other could handle, playing the game, showing off the game, chatting. Not necessarily like a strict role, like, I'm not going to just say like you have to play games and stay quiet, but I just
that was my whole
idea.
childhood, man. What are you talking about? That's my element.
Yeah, the little brother syndrome.
That's right. Yeah, you can't help. Go sit down, go play a game, and let us deal with it. That's my element.
Well, you've graduated to the big brother syndrome. You gotta help me out with this. Yeah, so I think just having multiple people would allow things to go smoother. I think it would be a lot to juggle playing a game, showing off the game, interviewing, reading chat, getting questions. So that's where I see your role and my role interchangeably. As far as scheduling and the teams go, like I said, I just kind of want them to show up and bring their raw experiences, bring those to the forefront. I don't really feel like, I want to get that like honest reaction. I think it would probably be best to try to keep them shorter since there's, 14 possibly people showing up. So even if you do like 10 minutes per team, that's already skewing into 2 hours. So I don't really want to like cut anyone off, but I think having an upper cap on that would probably be best to get everyone through. Either that or just have multiple streams and break them into batches.
Yeah, I mean, we could queue up some Oscars "You're Talking Too Long" music that can start playing. But yeah, I mean, I think either way would be just fine. I think, frankly, I think this could be just a series of content. I think this could be an entire channel. Is just because game jams are constantly happening. They're always happening. As soon as the Pirate Software Game Jam ended, the global game jam started. And then people have been posting about like the month-long Metroidvania game jam going on right now. So,
Right.
So I think you could take it either way. I think you could say this is a special event. We're going to do this in a limited space, or you could just say we're going to do a regular, reoccurring piece of content.
Right.
I think both of those could be successful, just depending on what your strategy is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind doing a more extensive series on it. I'm more of just like, I want to see how the first one goes. I've never done stuff like this, so I'm not trying to count my chickens yet. But yeah, if it's something that people are interested in, if more people want to sign up afterwards, I told my chat I could talk forever. I could ask questions forever. I do that all the time to myself for no reason. So if if more people sign up, I could definitely do like a weekly thing.
Okay, very cool. So it sounds like you're kind of feeling you would like to do a all at once. Let's do the Pirate Software Game Jam submissions in one space. It sounds to me like that's where you're leaning. Is that fair?
Yeah, right now I'm just leaning towards, see who's wants to do it right now, go through as many as I can comfortably, and then reevaluate from there. I'm not really going to plan on anything until I know what the experience is like. If it ends up being kind of like it's too short, developers don't like having to wait around for an hour to get their turn, then I'll go back to the drawing board. But, I'm not really going to know until I try. I'm very much a dig in and throw myself into the fire and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. So, by the way, super cool that you're trying this with like no prior experience, right? I just want to point that out. That's freaking rad. So, you know my schedule. I'm streaming from 1 to 3, but if there's, if I have notice ahead, I can make different times work. So, if you would like my presence there, we can definitely do like a 2-hour special, and I can we can talk details off stream about like how do we integrate into your stream, how do I get my voice and everything coming through for you and get that video feed up. Is there anything that you wanted to discuss in the meantime? I mean, it sounds like my role is going to be hype man / let's player, and you would like to tackle the interview. Is that kind of your vision here?
No, I mean, ideally, I would like you to be just as big a participant as me. I don't have any sort of desire to be the only one doing the interview, the only one dominating. Like, I would love your sort of feedback on what you would like to see from this, about, what kind of things you would like to see from the participants. I don't want to be the king of the castle here. Like, I think it would be great to see what you want from it as well, and then try to cooperate, mesh those together. Other words.
So that's very humble of you, and I appreciate that spirit of cooperation. But I do want to say, Amanusis, it's your castle, friend. Like, if you're not the king of that castle, then like something else is going on, So, by all means, I'm happy to just be here and contribute however I can. So, if you'd like me to be more present in the interviews, I would love that. I was a product designer for 10 years, and customer interviews, user interviews were my favorite thing in the world to do every day. It was like the one reprieve I had from the unrelenting anxiety and stress of that job. So I'm more than happy to chat about that. I think, so, like, if we can get a schedule up quickly, that would be great. And then if we could get a list of the teams that are going to be participating, then we can play through their games and we can come up with good questions. We could start up a Google Doc that you and I both contribute to, of like, here are standard boilerplate questions to kind of kick off an interview. And then here are things we really want to know about, like, the game that we played. And then if you were open to it, we could even, throw this open to our communities and say, hey, these are the people that are going to be on the call, play their game and shoot us any questions you want asked.
Right. Yeah. I like that idea of opening it up. I I wanted to sort of lock down what your availability is and that kind of stuff, and how long we're expecting the stream to be before I message them and sort of confirmed a date. But that's kind of my plan after this, is just to go through and make sure that everyone has availability. Probably the easiest thing would be sometime Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. Seems like most people should be available then, but we'll see. As far as playing the games and getting the questions, yeah, I mean, definitely, if people want to submit questions, I think that's a good idea. I know that some developers prefer to have sight-on-scene reactions to their games, so they can kind of see people bumble through their experience and see what roadblocks they hit. So it might even be beneficial for us to kind of split it up, and then have I'll play half the games, you play half the games, and then the other person will play it live during stream so they can kind of see what's going on.
I think that's fair. I think that's a great idea. And you're giving me all sorts of ideas for different types of content, of like, we will facilitate a play test for your game where you can just observe, and Amnusis, this is awesome. This is exactly the sort of thing that I really thrive off of. Thank you for getting this started. I'm just incredibly excited. So, what do you need from me in order to keep moving forward?
I mean, I think a confirmation that you'll be, available. I think a specific time would be good. So let me look at the responses. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, weekends, Tuesday. What's Central? So that's 5 o'clock my time. So I don't know. I think Wednesday's a little too close. So probably Thursday, your Eastern time, I think.
So I apologize. Which time did you mention?
I'm sorry. I'm just rambling to myself. So probably Thursday at 5 Eastern. If that works for you to have a couple hour time span, but feel free to suggest other times that work better for you.
That works just fine for me. I can definitely make that work. So we'll plan on 5 to 7 Eastern then?
Yeah, and I'll send out the message to the applicants, I guess is what you would call them, and we will make sure that they can make it, and then we'll adjust as needed. But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to get the first one done before I really worry about the rest of it.
That's very fair. That's very reasonable. I just want to say, if you don't do this, I hope someone does this. If you don't do it, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to lie, because this sounds like a great idea, and I would love to see this existing in the world in a high production value format. I think it would just be so helpful to so many people. So that sounds great. So you've got my availability. We're committed to Thursday, 5 to 7 Eastern. If you need any other information from me, let me know. If you'd like, I can go ahead and send out a Google Drive link where we can start throwing questions in together. and then I'll just wait to get the game list from you. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Chistes, chicles, chispace?
Um, Not at the moment. I'm glad that I'm able to work with this on you because I know that work with you on this backwards. I'm very much understand and appreciate your mission of trying to get more people exposed into this world and more people involved in this. So yeah, I mean, if you feel like stealing the idea, go ahead. The more people working on it, the better.
Well, I'm really excited to be contributing to it, and in any way I can support, we're definitely 100% here for. So, thank you for getting this started, and just as a note to everyone watching right now, this is all it takes. Like that's all you got to do. You just got to decide I'm gonna try this thing, and then like you find people who are excited about it. Like me, I'm so excited about this idea. So, keep me in the loop. We'll be chatting. I'll send you. That's my action item. I need to write that down so I don't forget. Because brain. Oh dear, there goes my phone. So I need to get a G Drive, Google Doc sent. I will get that done right after the stream today. And
awesome.
then I'll wait to hear back from you.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on your stream and working with me on this.
Hey, likewise. Hi, Amanusis' chat. Hello. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for hanging out with us. This was an absolute joy.
Yeah, I hope to do some more stuff in the future. Catch
Likewise.
you later.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Cool. What a great guy. What a great guy. So once again, that was Amanusis. For those of you on YouTube, we do have some people there. And those of you on Twitch, there's his link. Go check him out. Great guy. Great guy. Just started streaming like a little bit ago. Good streamer, doing really interesting stuff. Even outside of this, his game jam submission was just a super cool concept and using some really, really rad technology that, of course, goes way over my head, but is also very, very cool. So, awesome. And we both really wanted to stream that call, even though we could have taken it offline, because we both think that there's a lot of value in sharing stuff like that with a community. We think that, especially for myself and our mission of helping people realize you can do things that may seem impossible to you, it's tremendously valuable. So big thank you to Amanusis for being willing to take that call on stream. I hope that was of value, and I hope people can just see that, yeah, that's really all it is. Just say I'm gonna go do a thing, and then you go do it, and then the thing exists. Whereas before, no such thing existed. So, very, very exciting. By the way, thank you all of you for being in here today. It is such a joy having such a crowd out here today. For those of you who are unaware, we got a very rad announcement the other day coming in over the weekend, which I was not expecting. I'm going to just throw this up here. Whereas before we were streaming to, on average, a little over one person a day, the channel has been growing so much, our mission has been growing so much, participation has been growing so much that we got this over the weekend. So we were invited to become affiliates on Twitch, which is tremendously exciting. It's a very small step, but it is a sign of growth and a sign of people believing in what we're doing, and a sign that people want to help each other accomplish things. So thank you so much for being here. It couldn't happen without all of you lurkers, all of you people who are engaged in the chat, engaged in our Discord, whether on YouTube, on Twitch, whatever it is. You are all making this happen, so thank you. So, we are now nearly a full hour in. What I really want to talk about today is some of the feedback that we've gotten on our Game Jam submission, and what the thought process has been for me and the team about that, and where I am personally intending to go and take that learning and leverage it and grow and change who I am and how I behave in order to maximize on the learning. So I'm going to open up our Game Jam submission. So we're going to go to our browser here real quick. Bloop, bloop. Okay. So 1,407 entries on the Pirate Software Game Jam. All sorts of people building awesome, weird, ridiculous things that are just, I don't know, amazing. This is just like my favorite thing ever. Just seeing people make weird stuff because they like it. And this is our weird stuff that we made because we like it. And, you know, we were pretty proud of this. None of us have built a game before, really. I think our lead developer has toyed around with quite a lot of things and built some small-scale projects, but nothing, he had done one game jam prior, but it never got submitted because the team kind of fell apart. So really, this was a new experience for all of us. This was my first time trying to build something that other people would actually use. It was our artist's first time doing art on any of this, his very first pixel art. Cole Chaos, by the way, shout out to Cole Chaos. And our cards were designed and illustrated by a computer science student who did not touch any of the code, but he did this awesome card art, which is fantastic. I was really surprised. So just in that regard, it was a big W already. We all learned so much and grew, and it was just my favorite thing ever. But I want to go over some of the feedback we've been getting and kind of talk about how I've internalized that, what it's meant for me, how I'm going to leverage that to move forward. So we're going to go all the way down here. We've got a lot of community members that have been hanging out and posting comments. Big thank you to everyone who's been doing that. We've got Koku Tao Tichi, which I believe is in the chat right now. Ameripon, if you're here, shout outs. Made the really great Rumor Academy, which we played on stream on the day of the submission. There's Ameripon. Yes, hello. Hello, friend. Glad you're still here. By the way, people are free to leave whenever they'd like, but we will fetch a Cerberus to go retrieve you after too long. So those sound effects are hilarious was the very first comment that we got. Actually, yeah, okay, we'll go through this one and then I'll go to the something else, another comment. But he said those sound effects are hilarious, and this is very funny. And actually, Ameripon, I know this was delivered with all sincerity and lightheartedness and truthfulness, and I think it's really interesting to pull the curtain back a little bit and say, things that you say when you are trying to be kind and nice may get received in different ways. And there's no way you can possibly know that. No way you can understand how someone may interpret something, because those sound effects are hilarious was like we weren't trying to be hilarious. You know, the people who decided on most of our sound effects were really trying to go for this sloppy, visceral, guttural sort of feel. And in a sense, I think they really achieved that. But I think this is a big learning opportunity for me of really define intentionality. And when there is time, polish, get feedback early, and then go back, revisit, iterate as fast as you possibly can. Because the intention was not sound effects being hilarious. The intention was yucky and sloppy and gross and, unsettling. And some people mentioned that, but this was the first thing. And so it was like, ooh, we didn't quite hit the mark. Even though, once again, Ameripon, I know you were sharing this with all sincerity and all intention of boosting and helping and supporting. And I feel that. I really, truly do. I was able to build out my base quite big and cover most of the map with my poop. Wasn't quite sure the mechanics for most of it, and this is something we're going to be seeing a lot. Wasn't quite sure the mechanics for most of it, though, even though I went through the tutorial. The tutorial is really long and confusing, maybe also adding an inspect card. This is another piece of feedback we're going to see over and over and over again. To bring up the card so you can see it clearer would be good. I played it windowed in my browser, and in that case the text was quite small, gurgly, poopy fun. Which is awesome, right? Because for me, this is people playing it, and they enjoyed it, and they had a good time. That was a massive win for me. Next up, I'm going to actually jump to our actual itch.io page, because there are more comments over here. This was the first guy that played our game and left a comment. Matthew Young, over on the Sundown channel, TSUN Down, over on Twitch and YouTube. He's making a game called The Feathered Serpent. They just barely finished their Kickstarter last week or the week before. It was very recently. And successfully funded, and he streams every single day, and he does great work. He's probably streaming right now drawing dinosaurs. So if you think that would be more exciting than me, I don't blame you. Dinosaurs are rad. But he played it on his stream, left a very positive comment. Although, when I was on the stream with him, he got very confused. He didn't write all of this, but he felt it every single step of the way that he was playing. And because I was there coaching him, he was able to figure it out pretty quickly. But most people are not going to have that coaching. So we're going to see these reoccurring themes over and over. I like both of the genres you combined for this game, says Sly Puffin. It was fun to play through. I particularly enjoyed feeling like I was both defending myself and spreading out to take over the land. The final card and autoplay to finish was exciting too. That, by the way, the final card and autoplay thing, that was totally our lead developer, Dark Doombringer. Huge shout out to Dark Doombringer. He took the initiative to say, I think it would be cool if when you won, like it randomly spread out across the entire map. I did not have that planned in my scope. Nobody did. He just said, I think this would be cool. And he was 100% right. It's very cool. And everyone who gets to it talks about how cool it is. It is such a vibe. It is such a feeling. It's rewarding. It is empowering. And it just is the perfect capstone to a tough game. As for things to polish, the tutorial was very helpful. Once again, the tutorial was all Dark Doombringer's idea. He crunched that out in like a day. And I'm so grateful that he did, because it's 100% necessary. It still took some mental strain to get the mechanics figured out. A dedicated composer would be nice too, to make the audio experience more pleasant and less repetitive. And this is one thing I even tried to affect. That right before submitting for the game jam, I threw in a pitch modulator on the sound effects to try and vary that up a little bit. But yeah, we have very strong, powerful sound effects that, and this is something you see in indie games all the time. If you watch any Retromation, if you watch any Wanderbot, you see the very first thing they do whenever they open a new game is turn off the sound effects. Because usually people who make games are not audio engineers. You know, you might be part artist, you might be part designer, you're probably a programmer, but very rarely does it cross over with audio. So it's a weak spot for a lot of indie games, and this is something you can do to really differentiate yourself. If you have good sounding audio, then you will just automatically be on a different level from people. Overall, this was unique, on theme, and an enjoyable experience. Great job. So thank you to Sly Puffin. We got Biggs, B3 Ags, I don't know how to say that. Interesting combination of game mechanics and genres, well done. Also great work on the cards for such a short jam. By the way, all of these people have made and produced things. Go find them on the itch.io page. They all make really, really cool games. I've been playing all of them, and they're all rad. They're all such cool ideas. So this is something, Newell Fire, yes, thank you, yeah. This is something that we see all the time. This combination of genres is a really interesting space for a lot of people. This is a pretty well thought out deck building game. I really liked the art and the somewhat ghastly theme. Well done. And I think this is someone that the sound effects really worked for them and they got it. Oh yeah, Biggs made such an interesting game. Yes! I will remember you, by the way. It looks incredible. I desperately want to play it, but they sent it out as a WinRAR. So I can't actually extract it. But look how cool this is. This is such major Thomas Was Alone vibes that oh man, I really hope they build this out into a commercial product, because that is so cool looking. Yeah, really, really want it. You're playing through an old diary. He drew it on paper and took pictures to make the tile set. That is so cool. I love that. I love mixed media stuff like that. One of my favorite games growing up was Clay Fighters. Shout out to Clay Fighters. If you know, you know. Can I find? Yes. Excellent. Yes. It was all claymation. They had actual clay models and then did time-lapse photography. And those were the models for the game, and it was amazing. Clay Fighter was insane. Yes, Corey Cupcakes. Yes, absolutely. Love it. Critterlax, who, by the way, also deserves quite a lot of attention here. Their game Color Contagion. If you're ever considering making a Bullet Heaven style game of Vampire Survivors like, you owe it to yourself to go play Color Contagion, because it is a super cool experience where he integrates the level and the enemies into a much more active way than most Bullet Heaven games do. You have to like paint your color on the ground. So now all of a sudden the level matters. It's not just running away from enemies. You have to actually care about where am I aiming, where am I looking at? Am I going to take turns shooting at bad guys, or am I going to take turn painting the level? And then as well, the way you gain experience is not from killing things, it's from near misses. So you're constantly like just going straight next to huge groups of enemies and getting hit like crazy, but then you level up a bunch, and it's really interesting. It was the most engaging Bullet Heaven I've played, and that is no mean feat. I've played a decent amount of them, so definitely go check out Color Contagion. Ameripon, I'm thinking about it more. I think why I found the sound effects so hilarious was perhaps how they didn't match the visuals. You had old school visuals, which would make me think I'd be listening to more simple sound effects. And in this case, it was like a really gurgly, goopy sound effects, which perhaps is what made it feel out of place or stand out and thus gave me a chuckle. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're dead right. Newell definitely agrees. Yeah. So, I agree. And that's where a lot of that polish comes in. And this is a lot of where I have learned about things that I need to do better. Because I was kind of taking the production role. I was doing a lot of coding, but I was kind of doing a lot of the design facilitation for the team, guiding those conversations, leading people through, getting the game design doc all written out, making sure everyone had work to do every single day and that we were all on track and lining up for everything. So that was all stuff that I was tackling. And by the end of this, we're going to see one of my big learning points was I need to support the team with a more clear vision and alignment. And I don't exactly know how to do that yet, but it's something that I very clearly am seeing I need to figure out how to do, especially on short time frames. Ameripon, yeah, you could probably use the same sound effects and run them through some kind of funky effect filter to de-res the sound. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. That's a great idea. Yeah. Tiago G, this is a pretty well thought out deck building game. I really like the art and the somewhat ghastly theme. Well done. Crutterlax, right. Color Contagion, yes. Darker Divisions, played. I enjoyed playing this game. Nice, no stress, casual fun. Keep it up. I'm not gonna lie, Darker Diversions, if you ever see this stream, I don't know that I believe you. This is the last piece of feedback I'd ever expect to see about this game. But if it is legit, and like you did play it, I really want to watch you play it. Because you had such a different experience from everyone else, I would be fascinated to just be a fly on the wall and observe. Newell says, on the other hand, having unexpected audio could enhance the game and make it more memorable. Sometimes going against expectations can appear to be a genius move. Absolutely. So, right, it's all about, for me, my theory for game design is that it's all about individuals engaging in artificial drama cycles. That's what a game is all about. So what you're discussing there of like subverting expectations is a part of that dramatic cycle, right? The dramatic tension where, and you see this all the time in humor. This is what stand-up comedians do for every single joke. They establish an expectation and then they subvert it. And you see that everywhere. If a stand-up comedian says like the entire bit is just what you would expect, it's not funny, right? They have to, that's one of the most fundamental rules of comedy is something exists but shouldn't, and it will either be very funny or it will make people very angry. So yeah, it's a powerful tool. It can absolutely differentiate. It can make something really special. Like Thomas Was Alone, their use of very high quality voiceover work in the very low res art style was very powerful. It called attention to things. Binwill. Okay, just figured out how to consume trees and beat it. Loads of fun. I swear I tried placing on an empty square next to a forest, but clearly I did not. I think this is a really clever game and I want to play more. When do I get to capture humans and convert them into minions? Give me a tech tree. I want more. I love that. I think that's super cool. Having like, because one thought we had of if we pursue this and we turn it into a full roguelike is like maybe a run is not beating an island. Maybe a run is beating like 3 islands. And in between each island, you know, there could be that pseudo-persistent tech tree. I think that could be really fun. As well, one thing we talked about was having different eldritch horrors coming out of the ground. So this one was kind of like the eldritch monstrosity, but then another one might be like an insectoid hive. Another one might be, you know, ghastly spirits erupting from the ground. All sorts of cool different ideas that we could take a lot of different directions. So yeah, thank you so much for playing our silly little game. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that does echo a lot of the feedback that we're getting as we're seeing here. It's kind of difficult to get into, but once you figure it out, you can crunch through it and get a win fairly easily, and people really enjoy the puzzle. Pizza Crust Games, Corey Cupcakes here in Twitch, who made Kudzu, which, like I said, was a really fun game. I really enjoyed playing that. It was also very technically impressive for a Game Jam game, especially. It was really fun watching you on stream building this game. The art on the cards is super cool. Once again, the card artist, not an artist, computer science student. One piece of feedback is that the card text is a little hard to read. Maybe in future game, adding a zoom. Once again, calling back to that feedback we've heard a couple times before of the inspect feature, right? Zoom in and bring up and magnify for cards could help. Plus, I want to see that cool card more up close, Corey. Yeah, absolutely. Terrazom, great game. At first glance, it feels like a handful. Repeating feedback, but once you start to play, you get a hang of it. The colors are a little everywhere, so maybe a color palette that is a little bit more kinder and not that strong of colors, and I think that's a very fair constructive criticism. Once again, our environmental artist that made all this, that made the color palette for the world and everything, first time doing pixel art. So this is a very fair piece of constructive feedback, and I think that our artist could, you know, adopt that in their next project, which, by the way, they already messaged me over the weekend saying, I'm already building another game. Like, they loved it so much. They loved this experience that they started just on their own to build something. Can you see in my smile? Hold on. Can you see in my smile how happy that makes me? To hear that someone had such a good time building something that they've never done before, that they decide they want to keep doing it on their own with no outside time pressures, no contests, nothing. Just on their own, they say, I loved this. And I've never done it before, but I am sure going to be doing it again. That's everything. It's everything to me. All right. Colton Phillips. This is an awesome effort from some fresh developers. Some of the card abilities and costs were not immediately clear to me, but the gameplay played out intuitively regardless. I like where this is going. Great job. Kyrian Games. Love seeing people thrive while trying something for the first time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And hearing your story as well, Kyrian. On the day of submission, you coming in and sharing about your experience doing programming, I think you said, for the first time, and doing that for that visual novel. That was so cool. That's exactly what we love to hear about here. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming in and sharing your experience. So we're going to jump over to the actual game now. There's some more concepts here. We've got great concept and execution, really made me plan everything out, which was a really big deal because that was our computer science student was the one who kind of came up with this concept of, an insect hive was how it started off. An insect hive coming up in the Industrial Revolution. And one of his main goals was, I really want people to plan things. I want them to have to think far ahead. And it was really, 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 it was a big moment for me being able to send that comment to him and say, hey, dude, we did it. Good job. Nice design work. Well done from Vazor. Colton Phillips. Great job. You started with a base concept that was fun and added really nice graphics to make it appealing. Once again, first time doing it. A lot of people don't get that on their first project. So I'm just so grateful to our team members who threw so much into this. I liked all of the squelching and nasty sounds that this game offers. Once again, the card art is appealing, and it's pretty clear what each card does, plus the tutorial helps. I did have some issues reading some of the cards, which may be because I'm playing on web. I wasn't always certain what would be the best strategy or how to collect new card types. So we're seeing that magnify come up again. We're seeing the difficulty to get into the game come up again. There's also a common card state-based issue. Yeah. When highlighting over the bottom of the card, causing it to flash, where if you hover over the card, let me bring up the screenshots. If you hover over a card, it moves up 50 pixels. And so if you're hovered over it on those bottom 50 pixels, the card moves up and then is all of a sudden not being hovered on. So it goes down the next frame. And then the next frame, it is now being hovered on. And it just repeats and repeats and repeats. So that was something we knew about before submitting. And we just didn't have time to like really consider how do we refine this. But it's important to note people noticed it and brought it up in comments. And so for this one person that brought that up, that means probably another, 10, 15 people who played it, 30, 50, 100 people that played it, all had that same experience. And when they see that, that feels lesser now, right? This is one of those polished things where they go through that and they're taken out of the space that we've built in the game, and they're reminded, oh yeah, this is a game jam. So anytime someone has to be reminded of the outside world, we've lost. We don't want that. We want them staying in the world we've built for them. Overall, the gameplay felt fair and relatively sticky. Great pun. With a bit more polish and a clear end-win state, this could be pretty addicting. Excellent. And then I said, once again, it was not very learnable. We said, there is a clear win state. And he said, oh, okay, then I was 50 turns to victory. And then Rodmaker, this has got to be the most innovative game I've played so far from the Game Jam submissions. You all created a new genre, and that's not an easy feat. The soundtrack is fitting, the graphics really blend well together. Congrats, everyone. I hope to see more from you in the future. So, before I jump into my final thoughts here, let me bring up Colton Phillips. I need to reply to him here. He got his game judged by excessive profanity today. And excessive profanity is not a fan of the genre that he built for this game jam. And this is an important lesson to learn. This gentleman, Colton, is very active on the Pirate Software Discord, and he felt, I hope I'm not sharing anything that he wouldn't be comfortable sharing, because he put it in Discord in a public space. So I'm hoping it's okay to bring this up. But he felt very uncomfortable with a lot of things. He felt that he has a thick skin, and he was hoping for good criticism, but the criticism went pretty heavy. And I won't necessarily repeat it here because I want to be fair to excessive profanity, but suffice to say, Colton received it in a way that was pretty hard. And it was rough. But I want to shout Colton out here that instead of just receiving that feedback and shrinking into a corner and running away and saying, I'm never doing this again, immediately Colton turned to then playing other people's games and leaving feedback on them. And that's the sort of person you want to be around. Because yes, they were hurting, but they were focused on others. And they knew the best way they were going to be able to work through that hurt was to be there for other people. And that is, quite frankly, an inspiration to me. It is absolutely phenomenal. And if I can ever get in touch with Colton, I really want to express that to him, to thank him for being an inspiration to me. So, things we learned. Let's head to our whiteboard. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, by the way. If any of you are new, we are building a nonprofit that helps people get into the video game industry. That's our entire mission. Or rather, to develop the skill set in order to do so. So participating in the Game Jam was very central to our mission here. If that sounds like a good place to be for you, then welcome in. your home, and I am thrilled that you are here. I hope you follow, subscribe, whatever it is you do on the platform in which you are viewing, so that we can continue to hang out and you can be supported by us and we can support you because we all need each other. Thank you for being here. Hold on. My dogs are wrong here. What's happening? Let's fix this. There we go. And then we can delete that. Yes. Nolly ND over on Twitch. Everyone that participated in the game jam is an inspiration. 100%. 100%. The concept of a game jam is kind of just pure insanity, to be frank. It's a weird thing to do. Have you ever tried to explain a game jam to someone who is not like in that space? It's hard. You say, oh, well, you know, it's kind of like a writing competition where like there's a prompt and you try and make a game around that prompt. Oh, and like there's prizes? Oh, I mean, usually, yeah, but what's the prize? Like a $20 gift card, usually. Like the Pirate Software one is kind of huge, and then it's $100 to get your game up on Steam. And then everyone just kind of looks at you like, oh, okay. And it's phenomenal. Seeing so much creativity getting poured out by so many people simply because they have a passion for something and they want to contribute something to humanity and to grow and learn. It is one of the most inspirational things I have ever been a part of. And it spurs hope for humanity and has built out so many wonderful relationships with so many people already. It's just incredible. Curian Games says, that's fair. I'm not going to lie. I've watched a couple of judging streams from Doug Swift and Excessive Profanity, and I do feel a small bit of terror that Excessive might play my game. Yeah, he has opinions and is not afraid to share them. In case the name Excessive Profanity was not enough clue about that. I think he's a very brutally honest individual and a very brutally honest individual with very strong opinions about things. And that's another important lesson to learn. If one person does not like your stuff, it might just be because it's not for them. And don't get discouraged. If 1, 10, 50, 100 people aren't liking what you are producing, don't give up. That's not the point. It's not for them. They didn't like it. And sure, always look for self-improvement. Look for ways to grow continually. Accept good, constructive criticism when it comes. But being able to recognize who is this for and who is it not for, and who to listen to and who to not listen to, are crucial aspects of any sort of creative profession. So, you know, I mean, the first month we were streaming, it was to one person. It was my wife. Shout out to WifeQuest. And my family would jump on every now and again, but like we were averaging 1.1 viewers. But we didn't stop. We kept growing, kept it improving. Now we have good lighting. I just threw up a ton of actual soundproofing stuff on the walls, and we're way far ahead of where we were, and now all you people are here. So thank you. J.K. Rowling, who I know is a bit of a controversial subject nowadays. However, her story we can all learn from, which is she wrote a book that she liked, and she submitted it to, I don't know, if Newell is watching, he knows this number. Over a dozen publishers. Submitted to over a dozen publishers, and they all rejected it. And the publisher that ended up picking her up for Harry Potter almost didn't. They were this close to not doing it, where the publisher took the script home and their daughter asked if they could read it. And that daughter convinced their parent, the publisher, to publish it and print it. And because of that daughter, the world has Harry Potter. And also because J.K. Rowling did not stop submitting. Now, you can say whatever you want about her nowadays. That's not the point. The point is, she could have given up on those first couple declinings, but she didn't. She kept going. And she found the success because she believed in what she was doing, and she was constantly getting better at it. So there you go. There's your big lesson for today. My lessons from the Game Jam. Let's dive in here. So my big lessons from the game jam were 1, vision and direction. Ameripon touched on this a little bit when he said the sound effects felt like a different genre from the visuals. And I think that's a very, very fair discussion point. And Newell is right that that can cause interest, that can create contrast. And all of our perceptions and what we pay attention to is about contrast, right? The brain is a cognitive miser, and it will stop processing things given a moment's chance because it needs to conserve energy. And so what do we notice? We notice contrast. Is something moving? Is something a different color than its surroundings? Is something sounding different? All of these things are what our brain, our crocodile brain, is keyed into noticing. The problem is the contrast was not intentional on our part. And that's where the struggle came in. So big thing I could have learned, or I could have done better, is providing a vision and a direction for the team. And I think one way that I could have done that is with something as simple as a mood board. If we open up the Miro board, we can see kind of what I did to try and facilitate this process and kind of where it starts to break down. It's really interesting, super interesting. So we had an initial meeting, and I'm really glad we did this. Before the game jam started, we got together and we just threw down, like, this is how I communicate. These are the things I hope to accomplish in this. And this is how I get feedback healthily. This was really cool. It got all of us on the same page. We got to meet each other and just have an informal chat. We got to kind of throw down our skill sets. Like, what can I currently, presently do? Or what do I want to get better at? And we started to group these all together, and that gave us a base and a common understanding of these are things all we can do, and these are things that will be easy for the game jam. Once again, it was really good to have that to start off with so we could scope ourselves appropriately. And then all this stuff we kind of left alone. We came up with a quick little plan of when to meet and everything. But then I set up some spaces of settings and emotional themes where people could throw down sticky notes, and these are votes, so they could come and grab a vote and place it on a sticky note that they liked. You can see Industrial Revolution right there with 2. That's what ended up floating to the top eventually. And I also brought up mechanic concepts of what are like interesting mechanics you would like to explore as a part of the game jam. This was all before the theme was even revealed, by the way. And then inspiration games. What are games that you find personally inspiring? What are things that you think are rad and that other people might as well, and that you'd like to try and copy and learn from? And then Dark Doombringer built this one, Ideas from Theme. And this is where I feel my capacity as a facilitator needs to grow. There was a need for this that I did not capture. Ideas from the theme. All of this was pre-theme, before the theme was revealed. And I think it was good because it got people thinking about things. But this was clearly a need. People jumped on this like gangbusters, and they started writing down all sorts of interesting ideas. You can see Alien Bug City Builder there. Also a picture of a Thrycreen from Dark Sun, because it's rad. And then the cool thing is, all this work we did beforehand did start to pay off. We started bringing in pairs of things. And this was something that I was very glad that I did. I felt this was a powerful thing. This was a big W for me as a facilitator. Bringing in pairs of things. So we have ideas, and then we have settings and emotional themes. Let's start combining these in interesting ways. And when everyone kind of brought in things that they thought were interesting, we did another round of voting. We stack ranked the things that we voted for and evaluated them on likelihood we could actually execute on the concept. And we had some really cool stuff here, like Cosmic Horror Monster. Stop it from growing, then defeat it in a low fantasy world. I really want that game to exist still. It kind of reminds me of like Gun Wizards or whatever that game is that it just barely came out, which is a roguelike, but it's also survival crafting and 2D action, all that sort of stuff. Escaping a dying universe with cosmic horror. Love that concept. So cool. Reminds me of the incursion events in Marvel Comics. Oh, so good. But we ended up deciding on this, our Alien Bug City builder, and it grew from there. And we got a bunch of ideas, but you can see these are just kind of like thoughts. They are vague inspiration, and they don't align around a vision. They're just everyone's thoughts getting brought in. And what I should have done is when we were getting to the point where we started discussing work, when we started getting our Trello board up and running, I should have done something like this, which we had to build later on in the project, but saying, and aligning the team on this is what we're shooting for. This is the feel that we're trying to hit. This is our vibe. We come up with 3 or 4 words that describe our feeling, our theme, our setting. Because I think what happened is everyone went away with their own interpretations of that theme. And there wasn't a common thread tying it all together in an intentional manner. So a mood board and even just, honestly, descriptors. But having something that we all agree on and creating a shared understanding of this is what we're trying to accomplish would have been a big deal. And then number 2, before I get into that, Newell posted on Twitch, J.K. Rowling was rejected more than a dozen times. Some editors tried to be helpful. One told her she needed to take a writing course. Oh, man. Oh, that's rough. And you know what? Like, they may have been seeing something that was valid, right? I think a lot of times when we hear a success story, then we think, oh, everyone who ever criticized them was wrong. Not really. They may just have been looking at something else. And the thing that they were looking at was not the thing that everyone else was going to look at to see if this is interesting or important or successful. WifeQuest, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this story. She got a BFA in illustration, and when she was trying to get into that BFA program, her school counselor told her, don't do it. It wasn't right for her because she wasn't seeing the diligence that was required or the work ethic, because WifeQuest really struggled with dumb college things like Spanish classes and math classes, things that had nothing to do with her profession that she was trying to get into. But people took a lot of judgments on that. And like, okay, that school counselor was looking at something that was valid, that there were struggles in those areas. But that counselor was not looking at what was really important for that degree, which was, are you dedicated to creating high quality art and becoming a true artist? Now, WifeQuest is probably one of the top 10% of all illustrators, not in the sense that she's done massive publications, won Caldecott medals or anything, but she's published at least 4 projects and many books within those projects, and a large majority of illustrators never publish one. So, just keep going. Don't pay too much attention to the distracting criticism. Learn from it. Take what you feel is valid, leave the rest. So the second thing that I really learned is polish wins. This is a big one. Binwill says, one thing I've learned from being on the hiring side of things is that we pass on a lot of candidates that could definitely do the job. It's not that they were deemed insufficient, it's that we lacked the resources to bring all of the desirable candidates on. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard not to take that as a personal judgment, but it's often not that at all. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the big reasons that I left product design in a lot of ways, because I felt we were, as a field, as an industry, we were not pursuing or interviewing or understanding candidates at that level where we could understand, are they actually going to be able to do this job or not? Could be a whole rant. We could talk about that another time. Wife Quest, 13 plus books. Yeah. She was terrified when she graduated. She was never going to publish anything. And now her career is stronger than ever. She's getting all sorts of introductions into very, very large organizations that we're very excited to see how that all takes off. And she's been putting in the work. So, polish wins, 100%. So if we look at some of the top rated games in the Game Jam, let's take a look here. Also, the Game Jam page itself. First off, let's go here. Submission for the voting criteria, playability. Were systems in your game clunky or polished? Was the game tripping over itself when the judges tried to play it? I interpreted this when I first started looking into the Game Jam as it needs to run. Like, there can't be bugs. And it is certainly that. But now, after having gone through the Game Jam and seeing the games that are being most popular, if we judge by that, these are not, I don't mean any offense to their creators. They are not mind-blowing, completely new, wild, weird ideas, right? They're fairly standard, but they were executed on in a way that could be very, very polished. This one, the highlight for me here was the insane polish and amazing game feel. There are others that say this feels like it's an already built game I could play on Steam. Polish wins. Bayesian Live! Hello! Thank you so much for joining us here today. I appreciate you. If you're working on something, we want to hear about it. We're talking about what I have learned throughout the Game Jam for Pirate Software and what I'm going to take out of this and what I'm going to do to change moving forward. So welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here. And you'll see that same thread over and over again. Retirement Dungeon. Talking about art style, music. It had a very cute theme that brought people in, right? Which admittedly is adorable. You pick a pet to go into a dungeon with retired monsters, and you sneak around and trying to give them get little pets from them and help brighten their day. Very cute theme, very cute concept, and it's built in a very polished manner. Even though, like, it's essentially just a fairly basic stealth game. That's really all it is. It's a fairly basic stealth game where you're avoiding cameras, you're avoiding patrols, and you're finding items and bringing them to people. And, like, there's nothing in there that's revolutionary, but it's done really well. So, what am I going to change after that? Polish wins. I am focusing extremely on polish from here on out. Bayesian Live. Hello, just found you through YouTube recommendations. Enjoying the advice. Right on. Welcome. Come on in. I'm so glad that YouTube found you. Thank you for jumping on. Kyrian Game says, oh, the ferret trying to get extra credit, I see. Yeah, no, you'll see a lot of ferrets in the Game Jam submissions. No one is blind to what you're doing there. Sirs, madams, and or others. Goodness. For those of you who are unaware, the person who is running the Game Jam also sponsors and runs ferret rescues. So, yeah, so the approach that I think the whole team took in this Game Jam was what is going to be fun, what is going to be interesting to us as gamers, and what is stuff that we want to see. What are things that we have wanted to experience? And these are all valid things. The problem is, and frankly, they're really important things. You need to consider all these points when you're making a commercial product. These are necessary. You can't not have them. if I knew how to spell. Necessary. The problem is, in a game jam, you have a limited amount of time. And so if we were going to take multiple months even, let alone like a year or 2 year, the timeline for this would make sense. Because we'd have our design phase, and our technical people could go off making proof of concept stuff for all of the early design work. Our building phase could crank out some really rough prototypes. We could do some testing, see what is working, keep on iterating, keep on going through more design, prototyping, testing, iterations over and over and over again until we get very comfortable with where we're at, start building, and then we have all the mechanics done, and then we can start doing polish. But in a game jam, there was not enough time. There was not enough time. We had to stop. We had to stop here. Right at that blue line. That's where we had to stop. We did some design, we did a lot of development, and then stopped. Because that's all you can do. I can almost guarantee the timeline for these most popular games looked very different to ours. Where they did all this and condensed it. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they had even less red than that. It wouldn't surprise me if they just did a little bit of development and then just polish. And that gets attention. High quality. The saying we say all the time around here that we have stolen from many other people who've said it before is an excellent an average idea that is executed on in a phenomenally powerful way is always going to be better than an amazing idea that's executed on poorly. And this is the difference between a well-executed and a poorly executed thing. Thunder Turtle over on YouTube. Pal World dev interview is really interesting and relates to this as well. I want to hear about it. I haven't heard of this. What did the dev for Pal World say? I'd be really curious to hear. So, next up. Where do I take that? Now, instead of focusing on what is something fun, interesting, unique that we have not seen before, and one of the reasons we probably have not seen it before is probably because it's kind of hard to do. For future game jams, and we're going to be doing a lot of future game jams here, by the way. That is very integral to the mission here. I loved the experience. I'm going to try different game jams of different lengths, from bigger to smaller. We're going to be doing a lot of that stuff here. I think it's really powerful for the community. I think it's really powerful to see someone make a game from scratch moving forward. And so we're going to be doing a lot more of this. Thunder Turtle, no direction or vision. They just wanted to make a fun game based on player input. That's really interesting. So their graph probably looked something like, their timeline rather, probably looked something like, you know, a little bit of design and then development and then a small amount of design, development. Oh, and the playtesting. Yeah. And then playtest, and then repeat that over and over again. Which is a super, super smart way to build. You know, you want to be iterative. You want to reduce the time to learning as much as you possibly can. This is a huge problem that most indie devs fall into, is they build a game because they're passionate about it, and they're artists, and they love making things. So they spend forever designing, and then they build for a really long time, and then they release it. And they're shocked that nobody knows about it. And it's because they may have built something that only they like. They didn't get advice from anyone else. They didn't get input from any other players. It's just something they think is neat. And even worse, there's no marketing here. There's nothing. So they release it onto Steam, where thousands of games are released every single day, and they're shocked when nobody knows about it. We don't live in a village with 200 people. You're not one of 2 people making games in your community. There are too many games being made for us to know about all of them. There are smash runaway hits you have never heard of, I guarantee it. We found some just the other day when we started perusing through Steam, and I said, I've never heard of They Will Be Red or something, and someone said, you've never heard of this? It's a big deal. Thunder Turtle, at the very least, it's super interesting to see. Yeah, absolutely. Kyrian Games over on Twitch. Palworld also had a lot of devs who were totally new. Their gun animation expert was a university student that worked at a convenience store? They found him through his YouTube videos. Amazing dev story. That's wild. I had no idea, Kyrian. I knew that they were a relatively inexperienced studio. I didn't know to that degree. That's crazy. That's the contrast, once again, right? A student makes a game that takes the world by storm. Contrast. Something you wouldn't expect. WifeQuest. Marketing is 90% of any commercially successful creative endeavor. Absolutely. 100%. Yep. You have to have it. Whether you think it's evil or not, it's the reality we live in. You have to market. Okay. So what am I going to do in the future? In the future, in order to facilitate polish, I am going to do my best to say, hey team, let's focus on one mechanic. We're going to do one action, especially if none of us have built games before. If we're on a very green team, we're going to do one thing. And we're going to prototype it. We're going to test it. And we're going to do that over and over and over again as quickly as we possibly can. And then we're going to polish it to no end. So, what it will look like is, let's take the theme of it's spreading, right? It's spreading. We're going to focus on one mechanic. So everyone writes down a bunch of ideas on sticky notes of what is one mechanic they would like to see. Important to note, this is not genre. A lot of these are genres. RTS, fighting game, gacha. These are genres. Instead, what it's going to be is mouse movement. It's going to be keyboard press. It's going to be mouse click. It's going to be all these sorts of things. And we're going to pick one, and we're going to build the entire game around it. Thunder Turtle. Okay, team, listen up. We ain't good, but our game will start every single time. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, and what we're talking about here, Thunder Turtle, in case you're a little bit, you came in a little bit later, is we're talking about how these submission guidelines say it has to be playable, and how I said, okay, so like no bugs, right? We gotta iron out the bugs. But it says right here, polished. And then we went and we looked at the most popular games in the Game Jam submissions. They're all super polished, and that is exactly what people talk about in the comments. Is this looks polished, even though they're very simple, or they're not even necessarily doing anything particularly interesting or wild or out of the ordinary, but they're very, very well executed on. So, we are going to pick a mechanic. So for it's spreading, let's say we're doing mouse movement. This is our mouse. We're going to spread stuff with the cursor. That's the whole game. That's all we're going to do. It's the whole thing. And there may be things that come in and prevent the spread, you know, once again, dramatic tension. Things that make the outcome uncertain in some way. But this is all we're going to care about. That's it. And then we're going to build a really dirty prototype with no graphics. Artists, you go art. You go do your thing. We're going to build a prototype in gray boxes. And then we're going to test it with someone who is not on the team. And then we're going to learn, and then we're going to go back to building. And by the time we're back to building, artists, you probably will have some assets. We'll start plugging them in. And then we'll take the feedback that we got from those tests. Then we're going to test it again. And we're going to repeat that over and over and over again. And then once we have an idea of, okay, this is where the fun is in this concept, that is when we start talking about this stuff. Oh no, I'm not following myself anymore. There we go. Start talking about this stuff. Mood board, descriptors. We start talking about, like, what is stuff. This is when we start actually defining what we're building. Now that we kind of have an idea, now that we know this is our mechanic, this is what people find fun, what are things we can do about this? Now, one problem I'm seeing here is, what does art do in this situation? What does audio do in this space? And I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. It's something I need to figure out. But I am convinced that these rapid cycles here are super duper critical. And then we'll spend a little bit more time designing and aligning as a team. One thing I do know for artists and audio people is that they need to be observing these player tests. That is a team requirement. Everyone has to observe the playtests. Everyone needs to be there. They need to see firsthand how are people interacting with this, because that will fuel your brain with highly contextual knowledge that's very, very difficult to communicate to people that have not observed it. It's why live football still exists. It's why going to Disneyland with someone is a much more interesting experience than hearing about someone's trip to Disneyland. So everyone observes, we design, we do our mood boards, we align on what is the vibe of this, what are we actually trying to build, and then we can spend some more time building, and then we cut it off and polish. Polish. So ideally, at least half of the time, we're polishing. And that will give the artist plenty of time to build cool particle effects, to make animations, to do all those sorts of things. One of the big problems on Miasma Theory was that, where are we? Here we go. Is that we had a whole ton of stuff our artists had to build that they've never built before. You had to build all sorts of different tile sets for the terrain. You had to build resources. You had to build towers and the main base and enemies and all these things. So many different cards that were unique had to get built. When if we had made it much more simple, we could have focused on making it tighter, more aligned, more powerful. Thunder Turtle. I think the music and audio cues make up a big chunk of the reason why Vampire Survivors is awesome. That's a very interesting statement. I would pretty readily believe that, but I would be fascinated to hear someone's analysis of that, because I've seen some people discuss Vampire Survivors, and the best thing that I have heard right now is kind of what everyone is saying, which is just that it's a dopamine hit. And I think that's reductive, frankly. I think there's a lot of really good design work that went into that to set it apart. Sundown, who we mentioned earlier on the stream, who is probably still streaming right now, streaming his game dev of dinosaurs, of the feathered serpent, wherein there are many dinosaurs. He tried to kickstart Vampire Survivors years before Vampire Survivors existed. And he has the receipts for this. He shows a Kickstarter page where he was pitching essentially exactly what Vampire Survivors is. It raised $20. It's not just the idea, it's the execution. And I think you're right, Thunder Turtle. I think music and audio are major points of that, especially in the indie space. We were talking about this at the very beginning of the stream. In the indie space, audio, usually not the strong suit of people. Some people will be somewhat into design, some people will be somewhat into art. Everyone is a developer, but few people actually pay attention to audio. And we see that echoed in people coming into the stream and talking. When I was building out audio sliders and everything, a couple of people jumped in and they would always say, yeah, audio is always like the last thing that I build. So once again, getting this defined early and worked on early in a unified vision, I think is going to carry us much further than what we did. So, big lessons there. So those were the things that I really am learning about how to do better. I want to talk about some things that I learned, that I experimented with, and that I have gained very positive, constructive, yes, keep doing these. Bayesian Live, as a player, I think audio is an important part of the experience. It absolutely is. And anyone who says it's not is, frankly, wrong. Good music and sound effects can make a game. Yeah. Like I said, Retromation and Wanderbot, one of the first things that they do after a few seconds of playing a game is they go in and they turn the audio sliders down because audio is not getting paid attention to. It's far too often a side consideration, when really it is just as integral as the graphics or as anything else. If you tried to play Thomas Was Alone without the narration, it's half the game that it was. Playing with no sound, half the experience. And we had a really fun experience playing one of the Game Jam submissions on stream, where it had very satisfying sound effects. It was a puzzle game where it would kind of like, you click on a tile and it spreads to other tiles, and there was this really satisfying whoop every single time. And we said, okay, this was very fun and great for a very small scope. Let's mute the audio and try again. And we played one level, and everyone said, nope, we're not doing that again. Not worth it. Not good. What was once a delightful experience became just bothersome without the audio. Huge thing. Rodmaker, hey, Rodmaker over on YouTube. Welcome in, friend. It's so good to see you. Yeah, audio always gets neglected. From what I've seen on Pirate Game Jam Discord, people were leaving it for the final hours. This is what we did. 100% what we did. Most game submissions didn't even have audio. And it's a problem. It's a problem that needs to get fixed. Rodmaker, I am so excited to see you. By the way, for anyone who doesn't know, Rodmaker made one of the games we played on stream on submission today was Mage Knight. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Let's see. That's not working. Let me search in here. Mage Knight, right here. This thing. This game is great. It's very fun. It's a cute little sort of bullet heaven-y 2D Souls-like sort of experience. It's just a big love letter to all of those things, and you all should go and play it. It's very, very neat. I am so glad you're here. Thank you, Rodmaker, for joining us. Nolly ND over on Twitch. Many times audio is seen as a mood factor or ambiance only, or hearing actually, but it's also part of player feedback. It's a huge part of player feedback. Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you imagine like playing Call of Duty or something with no audio cues when you're trying to reload and stuff? And most people, you hit R, you start reloading, and then you wait for the sounds to finish, and then you start shooting again. The audio is, I mean, yeah, it's an absolutely integral part. Rodmaker, likewise, so good to see you too. I'm sticking for the long run. You got a new fan here. Oh, heavens. Well, thank you. I'm absolutely chuffed to see that. I was thrilled to see your comments and posts and everything. That made my day. Thank you for coming over here. So great. By the way, for those of you who are new, we do have some new people in here right now. In case you haven't heard the spiel before, we are building a nonprofit whose mission is to help people gain the skill sets that they need to enter the video game industry. So the game jam and everything, that was all a big part of me trying to develop my skill sets. I've been a product designer for 10 years, largely in web and B2B, highly regulated, complex industries like healthcare and pharmaceutical robotics, property insurance, cybersecurity, all sorts of stuff. But I had never built games before. And so we decided that I needed to build something that could help people. I felt a deep longing in my soul that I was never going to be the kind of person I wanted to be unless I found something I could channel love into. And we were considering, what can I love? And this concept came into my mind and my heart with full force of people need to know they can do this. People need to know they can do something that seems impossible or unreasonable. And just in the act of trying, they will grow as people in a tremendous manner. So that's what we're all about here. And so thank you all for joining us. We have an awesome community over on Discord. I invite you to come hang out if that's of interest for you. We're regularly doing critiques and celebrating each other's adventures and wins and learnings, and it's just an awesome, awesome community. So welcome all of you who are here. Thank you everyone who has been here and left. In case you're watching this later, you're all fantastic and you're inspiring to me because I never watched game dev streams before this. All right. So some things I really want to keep doing. I really want to keep spotlighting small teams and small creators. I found so much joy and personal fulfillment going through Thunder Turtle. Yeah, we're pretty awesome. Joking. Once again, humor, right? It's a type of self-effacing, of self-aggrandizing and everything. But in reality, there's no joke there. There's none. We got, for those of you who are unaware, we got an invitation to be an affiliate over on Twitch over the weekend when I was not streaming. And that's because of all you people. And those of you who have been here for just today, and those of you that have been here since, 2 months ago when we started. You're all foundational, fundamental parts of helping other people reach for the stars. And I can never thank you enough for that. And it shows. It shows, too. We've had people join the stream for just a moment at a time and then say, wow, this seems like such a positive and encouraging community. And they're dead right. Because there's something different here that does not exist in other places on the internet. And it's all because of you guys. So thank you. Grats, thank you. Thank you, Thunder Turtle. Yeah, it's really exciting. And, we're looking at that. We haven't signed anything yet. We don't know when the right time is going to be for the channel. But it's a sign of growth. And it's a sign of people buying in to this ridiculous, impossible thing that we're trying to build, that I'm trying to build. And that something is resonating with people. Our Discord is more active than other streamers that are 100 times our size. And that's because we have dedicated people that are just loving helping people. In 10 years of product design experience, working in companies that were really trying to help the world, I've never felt like I've been doing more good than I am here and now because of all of you. Rodmaker, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And today is weirdly just a continuation of that. Just a little over a month ago, we were streaming to an average of 1.1 people. And now, according to the metrics I'm seeing on my screen, we have 15 people between YouTube and Twitch. And I think that's pretty rad. And I think you're all pretty rad. And especially rad are the people that are building things for game jams, which is such a dumb, silly, stupid thing that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Oh, man. So yeah, on that note, spotlighting small creators. I made a couple of YouTube shorts where I played a couple of games that were early submissions for the Game Jam, and I really loved that. And I want to keep doing that. I want to keep posting about Game Jam submissions that are getting no attention. That was one of the big objectives we had on submission day, was to celebrate the less popular games that are getting submitted. And I loved that. I loved that so much. I want to keep doing that. We want to do spotlight streams. I would love to... one of the reasons I love Retromation so much, and you hear me mention him all the time, because he's a YouTuber I really, really respect. Something he does that I respect is every day he is on Steam looking at his categories and evaluating all the new releases that are coming out. Dude looks at every single game that gets released every single day. And he plays some of the most weird, random, obscure, bizarre stuff. And it's incredible. Bayesian Live, I'm going to have to hop off. Thank you for the advice. Wish you the best. Hey, Bayesian Live, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. And thanks for making that jump over from YouTube to Twitch and hanging out with us all. You're awesome. Thank you. Have a great day. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Build something awesome. I hope all of you are building something awesome. So I want to find games no one has heard of. And play them on stream. And analyze them and see what works, what doesn't. Because I think there's a lot of value from a holistic business perspective to see these games that have no real traction, that aren't finding a market, what are they doing that works and what doesn't work? And then I think that's a very rich data pool to draw from when you combine it with the fact that they have no market. Because now we can start to understand, is this a game that worked and was really good, but just there was no marketing and nobody's found it? Or is it too niche? Is it too weird? But it works really well even though it's weird? Or is it that the game just is not very well executed on and it needed more time in the oven? Or any of those things, right? I think that would be very, very valuable market analysis for me. And at the same time, it would give exposure to some of these developers who are not seeing the fruits of their labors. That's one of the biggest causes of burnout, is not being able to see the impact that you have. And that's why streaming is so important for me, because I'm getting to see people actually benefiting from what I'm doing. If I was just sitting in my room making proposals for, local libraries to teach game design, which is something that I do and I need to do when the stream is over today. But if that was all that I did, I would have no incentivization to keep going. I would burn out super fast. Thunder Turtle. Whoa, that is dedication to play every single game released. Okay, so he doesn't play every single game released. He is in the listings every day looking for interesting things to play and put on his channel. But he definitely has dedication. Dude puts out 3 videos a day. That's a lot of content. It's a lot of content. He's a madman. So I really want to keep spotlighting small creators. I think design facilitation was another really big win. In a lot of ways. I think I got permission to produce right out of the gate. Before the game jam started, we had that get to know you meeting, and I said, hey guys, I kind of brought this team together, but I want to double check with everyone. I want to catch up and check in. How do you all feel about me kind of being the team lead on this and directing things? And people gave their buy-in, and then that made the whole process a lot simpler and direct, because now there was what's the right definition here? A structure. There was a structure that people could depend on and rely on, and they could focus on their things. So that was good. But then the design facilitation. We had our computer science student kind of come up with the game genre and everything, and so they became the super voter, where their opinion weighed more than everyone's on the teams. However, all of the design of this game was done collaboratively. Everything was done with the input of the entire team. And very rarely did I say, I think this would be a cool idea. Usually it was me saying, or asking questions, right? To go back to Amanusis' call we were on earlier today of doing interviews. Questions are my superpower. So I asked a lot of questions. And if someone was going down a direction that I got nervous about, instead of saying, no, I disagree with that, that's a bad design, I would say, okay, I hear that you want to go this route. Can you tell me why? Why is this an important thing for you? Why do you feel this is the right route to go? And then that would generate really good discussion. And the design decisions that were landed on were not always the ones that I would have taken. And frankly, there were some design decisions that I wasn't necessarily in favor of in the moment. But I think I did a good job of getting out of the way of the team and just supporting them and helping them be the best they could be. And then I just put trust in that. And I trusted that I have done my due diligence to ask questions and help people think about this from multiple different angles. And this is a decision that the other people all feel is a good one. Even though it's not the one I would have taken, I'm going to trust that it was good. And I think we see the fruits of that in our Game Jam submission, where the bones of the game are very, very solid. That's what everybody talks about, is that once we get past that initial struggle, that UX polish, people really enjoy the game and they want to see more of it. And so I think this was a really, really big win for me that I really want to continue doing. Facilitate more than design. Oh, definitely streaming it. Those are my favorite things. And that kind of speaks for itself. But a really big deal is the power of networking. And we say this networking word like it's a swear word. You know I've always viewed it that way in my career whenever people would say, oh, if you really want to climb the career ladder, you got to network. You got to go to conferences and talk to people. And like, holy cow, do I hate that. Man alive, do I hate that. Despite all appearances, I am massively an introvert. I'm a massive, massive introvert. Hey, Game Maker 2D Fighter, how's it going jumping in? Wonderful to see you, friend. So glad to have you here. By the way, everyone go check out Game Maker 2D Fighter. He is building an entire fighting game engine in Game Maker. And yes, he's making his own fighting game, but he's making a boilerplate engine someone can purchase off of the store and have a fighting game. He's absolutely insane. Go check out his stuff. He posts updates regularly. Absolute inspiration to me. Networking, it's not a dirty word. And this is what I've come to realize getting started in indie game dev. It's not about being slimy. It's not about trying to manipulate people. It's about believing in yourself and believing that you have value to contribute to people and that their lives are worse because they don't have that value in it. That's what it is. That's what sales is. It's genuinely believing in what you're trying to sell. Wife Quest. All of my contracts have come from networking, usually at Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators conferences. Yeah. It's about being with people face to face and getting to know people that you want to work with. Yeah. Yeah, meeting. Yeah, absolutely. Wife Quest has put in really a lot of work in terms of networking, and she is not a networker. She is not an extrovert. Well, rather, she is, but she's incredibly shy, and it's very difficult for her. And she's learned to overcome that, and it has yielded a lot of progress. Oh my goodness, it is 3:06. Oh boy, I've got to get on some other things. Son of a biscuit. Let's finish out this point, and then we'll wrap up for the day. And we've got some good people on Twitch and some people on YouTube. I'll throw a link down. We'll try and raid someone, because I think, someone deserves to get their day made. We're gonna try and raid someone that isn't expecting it. Let's put it that way. Stick around if you could to figure that out and see who it is, see who we can really make their day with. But networking, it's about being genuinely, tremendously excited to care about people. My favorite example about this principle, about just caring about other people, came from my grandma. Wife Quest is definitely the most challenging part of the job for sure. Yeah. My grandmother was one of the most phenomenal people I ever met. And I had no clue that was the case until just a year before she died. She had a stroke before I was born that paralyzed half of her body. And I'm very ashamed to say I wasn't necessarily scared of her, but I always thought she was kind of weird. And as a kid, I couldn't understand anything. And it wasn't until I was a full-grown adult and visiting her in a retirement home that I started to see just how amazing and special she was. When I got one-on-one time with her, with none of my family around, no one else, just me and my grandma, she had the most powerful talent for caring about me. I would ask her, hey grandma, how have things been going here? Are they treating you all right? And they say, they're fine. How are you? How's school? And she would just dive in. And it wasn't just like performatory. She had this amazing talent where she would remember your phone number of all of her like 100+ grandchildren and their birthdays and everything that was important to you. Somehow she kept in her head. She didn't write it down. She just cared that much. And I really have used her as a role model for myself of how to do that for other people. And I've been seeing that as a big, big thing during this game jam. I think playing game jam submissions, talking about them, engaging with people in the community, encouraging people to share their projects, it does have a positive effect of bringing in audience. But the most important thing that is actually valuable to me is caring about people. WifeQuest, she says, it was a true honor and joy to get to join you on those visits later on. Yeah, WifeQuest got to be with me during the last little while there before she passed, and I'm really happy we did that. So the thing is, it has to be apparent that you care, because if you don't care and you're doing this just to try and build a relationship, it's so transparent, unless you're a phenomenal liar. And that's not how you want to live anyways. You want to live with an open heart. You want to live vulnerable, because yeah, that's scary, but that's where fulfillment lives. Relationships aren't about what can I get out of this. It's about each of the two parties caring about each other. And that's what a real relationship is. Game Maker 2D Fighter started that with me. He jumped into the stream when nobody was on. One of the earliest people to come on and hang out. And he just started chatting with me. And I noticed his name, and I started talking with him and said, hey, what are you doing? And he shared his incredible ambition. And I count Game Maker 2D Fighter, I count myself very lucky to be, at this level of association. He inspires me every single day. So that's what it's got to be. He came in, he cared about me. I could feel that. I reciprocated. And now we have a very strong returning relationship. foxhollowgames is one of the most genuine people I know. His innate drive to lift others is unsurpassable. Oh, wow. Thank you. My wife certainly thinks so. But, I mean, that's the secret. That's the secret to networking. Care about people. So I want to do a lot more about that in ways that are unscalable and that are inefficient. I want the inefficiency, because working in the corporate world, it's that drive of efficiency that kills the caring. And so that's what we're going to push for. We're going to drive that really hard. Okay. These are a great set of learnings. We didn't get to actually designing our project. I do want to say really quick, the next stream that we do, I believe, fingers crossed, tomorrow, the next stream that we do is going to be designing with all of these lessons in mind. We're going to design a one mechanic game that we can polish out the wazoo. And we're going to try to continue that discussion around being an affiliate or not. We have a lot of ideas for channel points and anything. Once again, if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, if you're worried about, what the experience may be with ads, I want to hear about it. If you have cool ideas for what channel points might get used for, or ways we can provide more value to people, I want to hear about them. That is the entire driving force behind the stream. It has to be delivering a ton of value to anyone who is here. Lurking, chatting, subscribing, whatever. We need to be driving inordinate amounts of value to everyone. So if you have any thoughts on that, I want to hear about it. Please let me know. And so Nolly ND, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Welcome in. It's great to have you join us here. And that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to keep on trying to support all of you lovely people. And we're going to try and reach people who aren't browsing the software and game dev categories. Because the people that this nonprofit is really trying to help, they're at the point right now in their lives where they're not considering building games because they think it's impossible. And those are the people we want to reach. We want to reach all you lovely folks as well. But our real core audience are the people that aren't here. So we're going to start tackling all of that starting tomorrow, Tuesday. With that, you're all phenomenal. This has been a tremendous stream. I appreciate every single one of you. I know I've said it a million times. Asar, like me, Pog? Are you someone who has not considered making games? Because if so, yeah, you're in the right place. Absolutely. In fact, if you've never considered making games and you think that this is not something you can do, go to the VODs or go to our YouTube. Hold on. Let me do commands here, and then in Twitch, I'll do YouTube. Go to our YouTube, find our VODs. 2 months ago, I had never built a game. 2 months ago, I'd never done anything. And you can follow along as I streamed the entire process of me learning how to build games. So, I promise you can do it. You don't have to start big. You don't have to do something crazy. You don't have to put a ton of expectations on yourself. It's better if you don't. But just start trying to build something, just for fun. And you'll be surprised how far you get pretty quick. So, with that, I'm gonna bounce here real quick. Rodmaker, if I can make video games, everyone can for a fact. Absolutely. By the way, Rodmaker, once again, for those of you unaware, made Mage Knight in the Pirate Software Game Jam. Nolly ND, always lower your own expectations. Absolutely, yeah. And that's the key thing, right? You do everything at its appropriate moment. If you want to build games, don't let anything stop you. But don't fall into the trap that every indie dev tends to fall into, where you build your dream game to start off with, and it takes 3 years, and you never show it to anyone because you're terrified of people saying anything negative about your dream game, and then you release it and nobody knows about it, and it's probably pretty bad. Don't do that. Build something really small. Build a game like Breakout Survivors. I know we talk about this game all the time. Y'all are keeping me on here, you monsters. Breakout Survivors. Go play Breakout Survivors. It's like $2. This got featured on Retromation's channel, and it's made $2,000, which isn't a ton, but like this person probably isn't doing this full time. They probably built this in like 2 weeks. And like me, after just a few months of learning game dev, I looked at this and thought, this is brilliant. This is so simple and easy to make. Like I could do it maybe in a week. Holy cow. Really, really, really good concept. Build a dozen of these things. Build a dozen things that require no art unless you want to do the art and are just shapes. And release them and learn from people. And you're gonna learn how to make things better than anyone who's graduating from college in a 4-year degree. I guarantee it. Oh, man. You're all amazing. This is so great. I just... this smile you can't fake. This is just my favorite thing. So with all that, thank you so much everyone for being here. Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and raid Amanusis, who we were on the call with earlier today. Great streamer, just started with the Pirate Software Game Jam. So let's go hang out. Feel free to say hi. Feel free to follow him. He's a great guy working on some really technically impressive stuff. And we'll see you next time. And then I have to wait the obligatory 10 seconds for the raid to come. Rodmaker, loved your stream. Will definitely show up more often. Well, thank you so much. And by the way, for all the YouTube people, I will be throwing a YouTube link in the chat if you would like to join us. Thank you very much. That's a weird thing to say. There we go.